Do you guys want me to? And then lead us in. I had a thing. Are we? So we're doing the God thing, right? That's what we want to do.
Man, we can. I'm totally not prepared at
I
all.
got some bullshit. I can throw you guys some stuff, and we can just rattle around with it for a little bit. I also had some stuff. If you guys wanted to start off with some.
I like your notes.
What do you call it?
I like the notes that you put in there. I mean, there's a great idea. I wish I was prepared for it.
Honestly, I did that for like 2 seconds the first day, and I hadn't gone back to it since. And okay. I wrote like 10 minutes before I jumped on with Frank. I wrote out like another thing, but like what was I going to say? I have some. Do you guys know the Brian Koberger thing?
No.
He killed those kids in Idaho with a fucking serial killer dude.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Yo, we should it's pretty fucking crazy. He just got sentenced, and I was watching it on the news. Dude's like straight up serial killer, like sociopathic serial killer. They do he pled guilty, and they gave him essentially life instead of execution because he pled guilty. And some of the families are a little pissed about it because they wanted to go to trial and like kill him essentially. But they read victim impact statements.
Let my tax dollars go to waste keeping that motherfucker alive.
Right? Like that was one of the arguments people were saying. But they technically it's Idaho, so I don't know if it's your taxpayer money. But they read victim impact statements, so the family stood up in front of the serial killer and had their chance to say, you know, what they felt in that moment, right? Like how it affected them, whatever they wanted to say. And I think it was one of the sisters to the kid that got killed just fucking reamed him. Like, I mean,
I saw that like pop up in a forum or something. I didn't watch it though.
How much can you get reamed after you've just been given life?
Bro. Like, and this is the thing, like, it was like maybe 20 people stood up and like everybody in the court is crying because like it's fucked, right? Like, this is like he stabbed like 3-4 kids to death, brutal fucking murder style, like serial killer shit. And he sits there. He does not react at all. His face is a blank fucking canvas. It just does not. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't like. It is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Like it just. It
probably
makes no sense.
True psychopath, man.
He almost has to be like, because if you were innocent or if you did it, but there were like reasons or any of those things.
He's the real fucking deal, guys.
It was fucking.
I think
wild.
He's the real fucking psychopath killer. Yeah,
but she fucking laid into him, and like the whole courtroom was clapping afterwards. And so like, I don't know if you guys want to start off with some like pop culture type stuff. I was joking with Frank about this other thing that was kind of a funny bit of a news article that I found. Like, if you want me to do the intro, we could do some of that pop culture shit, or like you know, just whatever's going on right now. If you guys want to talk about some stuff, we could do that, and then lead into the God thing, or however you all want to do this.
Yeah, let's try it out. Let's try out the intro. And
okay, I
did see the UFC fight on the White House lawn thing.
I don't really have anything other than that, but we could definitely just talk about some of that because it's wild. So,
well, we also have to give an announcement and also. Give you know, respects to the Prince of Darkness as well. Because he, after all, did go to meet the Almighty.
Yeah. True. Let's
and then coincidentally Hulk Hogan as well. But hey, listen,
fuck that guy.
Like a metalhead outlived a meathead. Ozzy was like 76, and Hulk Hogan died at 71.
Hulk was 70 something too. He was up there. They were both fucking old as shit, but.
Bad time.
But I mean, come on.
People who have
Ozzy went
first and last names that start with the same letter.
Oh shit. OOHH. OO. God damn it, man. It's not coming. I can try it. Well, let's fucking try some shit. Let's just get this shit going. Let me know when you have started the stream.
Oh, we've been recording for a couple minutes, man.
Fuck yeah, man. We know what we're doing here, motherfuckers. All right. Let's see here. Cool beans. All right, let's officially start this then. So, welcome to the You Don't Know podcast, where 3 ignoramuses, that's a big word, explain at length, excruciating length, all of the things that you don't know, but we do. Or at least we think we do, or we're pretending to do, or some combination of those things. We are, of course, your humble hosts. I am Michael, that is Adam, and that is Frank. And we're going to be taking you through all of the things that we know but you do not know. Thanks for joining us on whatever day you're tuning in and listening, watching, uploading directly to your frontal cortexes. A little bit of a public service announcement that only use approved brain implants. Remember, when it comes to brain implants, quality is important, so shop smart, shop S-smart. Today we are driving into some topics. We're going to talk about gods on this one is what we went into. Not sure why exactly, other than it's fun for us, and we're going to pretend like we know a lot about this stuff and how religious and spiritual we are, apparently. But before we jump into that, we did have some announcements. Before we officially started the stream here, Frank was reminding us that Ozzy died today. Was it today? It is today, right? It's been a long day.
No, it's been 2 days.
That's even longer, right? This is how it happens. It just bleeds together. But
2 days? 3 days? Sometime this week.
Something like that. Frank, you're the official looker-upper of things. I've just deemed you that. So, Frank, look it up. And
3 days ago, guys.
3 days ago. Jeez, how did it go that fast? That's wild.
On the 22nd.
On the 22nd. The legend, the myth. Biting bats' heads off in heaven now? Do you think Ozzy got into heaven? Since we're doing gods, I mean, are we going to just speculate wildly on whether or not Ozzy got into heaven? Or if he's rocking it out down there in hell?
Oh, yeah, he probably...
Great fucking question.
He probably got in. He might get kicked out, but he definitely got in.
He got in?
Yeah, he got in initially, but he'll probably try hard to get kicked out.
Yeah, he probably won't like the music up there.
Imagine that scene. You know, God just suddenly hears like war pigs start up in his like. There's the angelic courtyard, and there's choirs, and there's harpsichord going on, and angelic voices all over the place, and then it's just fucking war pigs in the background starts as Ozzy walks in, just in a full black trench coat. And just like hot women all around him. I don't know why I'm picturing it that way, but that's how I'm picturing Ozzy entering into heaven.
That sounds pretty accurate.
You know what I mean? And then God is just like, absolutely fucking not, and just pushes the flush button, and down goes Ozzy into hell.
Or he might
take his rightful place.
He might convert all of heaven into becoming metalheads. Yeah, they're like, I can't believe we've been missing this whole time.
What have we been doing? Listening to harpsichord and that one weird angel singing in a very high fluty voice. That's wild.
Yeah.
He does die. He died. That's it's definitely a loss, I think, for it's such a. I was talking with my wife about this, and you know we're all kind of at that age. What's that? we're all kind of at that age where you know the older generation's dying off. Ozzy's dying. You know, we had oh my god, my brain. Hulk died as well, but even before that, you know, you had the Where's the Beef lady who was supposed to live forever. Betty White died a ways ago. You had like a bunch of the older timer ones, right, have kind of died, and you know, it's not going to be too long until we start seeing like our generation of people start going.
Whoa!
You know, like how old is Randy? How old is Randy from Lamb of God? You know what I mean? Like how old are some of like our?
He's not our generation.
Fuck yeah, he is. What are you talking about, man? That was.
He lived in our generation, but
I'm saying he's older, but he's still. But he's our generation's music. You know what I mean?
He's probably what, 20 years older.
I would have to imagine at least, right?
He's like
he's starting to get up there, right? Like we're gonna. It's an interesting kind of inflection point where it's gonna start being some of our people that are going, you know, and definitely a interesting kind of a spot. But
and then we're next.
And then we're next, and then that's all she wrote. I'll have a leading question for a follow-up on that later. But I do have
act accordingly.
Yeah. Yes. That is my favorite line from The Departed. I'm hoping you're quoting The Departed in that moment, Frank. Was that what you were doing, Jack Nicholson? That is the greatest line of like any delivery.
I act accordingly.
When he walks into Jack Nicholson walks into the bar, and there's like a grieving Irishman at a bar drinking whiskey. And Jack Nicholson walks in, and he's like, "Oh, how's it going?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not too good. My mother's dying." And he just slaps him on the back and goes, "We all are. Act according," and just walks off. It is the greatest like one-liner in cinema for sure. Jack Nicholson, legend.
Pretty good.
But that's right.
I do have, before we move off, I do have one Ozzy story, which is just like because we all got to see Ozzy in concert way back in the day. At least I know I saw him once, maybe twice. I don't know if you guys saw him more.
Multiple Ozfests. So yeah.
I think I remember
I held on to the clipping. Did you guys go to? Yeah, I think you guys all went to the free Ozfest, right? Did we all go to that?
Yeah. No, I didn't go.
A 4-pack. It was a 4-pack of Monster that you had to buy, and it came with a free Ozfest ticket.
I do remember that, but I did not go.
Was it from 7-11?
You didn't? Yeah, no. Dude, there was one Monster pack, and I went to Safeway, I went to Nob Hill, and I went to like one 7-Eleven, and they had one, and I was able to go because I was like, I'm gonna go to this fucking free Ozfest. I like clipped out the newspaper clipping and everything, dude. It was great.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. I don't know if I went to that one, man. It sounds familiar, but I just don't remember.
My favorite story of the Ozfest that I remember him being at was the one with Iron Maiden. So Iron Maiden was there. It was one where Sharon Osbourne cut Bruce Dickens' mic because he was shit talking Ozzy about the.
That's right.
We were in California for the audience, and I forget the place,
Shoreline.
but Shoreline Amphitheater, and so it's got a big grass section that's super far in the background. And normally at metal shows, you pay admission and you get right up front because mosh pits and things like that. But at Shoreline, it's the exact opposite, where like the general admission is like in the nosebleeds.
Well, that's for the main stage. At least like for the day that you could still get like in the pit and towards up the front. But for the main, obviously, the bigger bands were playing. And Iron Maiden was there, and Iron Maiden, the lead singer Bruce Dickens came out, and he was just shit talking Ozzy. He was just like, how much bullshit is this? People paid good money to get in here. You're all the way in the back. And he's just nonstop. And then we didn't know at the time, but Sharon had cut his mic in the middle of his speech because she was backstage pissed. And it came out later, which was pretty funny. But later on, Ozzy came out, and my pretty much the only memory I have of him is that he would do his sets. He was still amazing. But he would, after in between songs, right, he would do like the stage prattle where he was going to talk to the crowd. And so he gets on the mic and he's like, he goes, and nobody knew what he said, but as soon as he stopped talking, everyone's like, yeah, it's fucking Ozzy. Like, and every time, just call and response. Like, he would just say something incoherent babble and then just immediate cheers because he was, the greatest of all time. So long live the Dark Prince, Ozzy. Yeah, man, rest in peace.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. I had a couple other interesting things that, we wanted to talk about a little bit here, which was some crazy stuff has happened in the news that was of interest. One in particular was, did you guys watch, and I know we were talking about a little bit beforehand, but I don't know how much you guys know about that, Brian Koberger and the crazy murders that happened?
Nothing really. That's the first I've really heard about it.
So this dude, he was, he killed, I think it was 3 college students in Idaho, and then stalked them, did the whole fucking serial killer thing. There's photos online where he kind of looks like Ted Bundy too. Like he's got like a very similar kind of expression on his face and kind of the look of it. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. But he was just on trial. There's Ted Bundy and what's his name? Brian.
Was this initially, was the murders like a huge mystery that they couldn't figure out for a long time? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, it kind of was. Like at first they didn't know who had done it, and they kind of went to work really super quickly trying to figure it out. And I think pretty quickly they had some video stuff of his car near the scene of the crime, and then they started tracking him. They actually found DNA on the knife sheath, so he had left like a sheath from the knife that he used to kill these people. And they did like that crazy thing nowadays, which we can do a whole topic about that, which is they use the 21andMe DNA type testing to key in on who it could be. Like they didn't have a direct DNA match, but they were able to figure out that it was somebody in that family, right? And then they like ran it down to figure out who was kind of could have been in that area and who was most likely, and then they just started keying in on this dude. And that's kind of how they originally fingered him. And then they hey now.
I was wondering if anybody else got it.
Hey man, show some respect. People have died here.
Frank. Also 23 and me, not 21 and me.
It's not 21 and me. Look at me. Yeah. I was, but yeah, they ended up finding him, and then they here we go. Hold on. Oh yeah, here we go. Let me try to share screen here. We can get this going, because this is pretty wild. Where's the buttons? There they are.
Also, since we're discussing gods, I'm going to go ahead and put into the chat those who have gone to meet the Almighty that are of notable background. Let's see here. You guys can put in the live chat.
What is this? People, who are all these people?
These are all people who have died in like the last month.
I see.
Jesus,
okay.
Man. Jesus.
I don't know.
Anne Burrell. Oh, did you guys hear about her? Anne Burrell, the chick from the cooking channel. Yeah, I mean, I'll show a picture of her.
The dude from the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah, that was sad.
Theo. Are you serious?
Yeah, that was very sad.
Wow, that's wild. Damn, he was 54.
Yeah, he drowned. The riptide got him.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, with his family and everything. Just really, really sad situation, for sure. But, yeah, I'm sharing screen. Can you guys see what's going on here?
Yeah.
So this is the guy on the right there in the black and white is obviously Ted Bundy, right? And the guy on the left is Brian Kohberger, which just looks like he could be his son, right? Or a doppelganger. Like, it's crazy how similarly they look. The Brian Kohberger dude, he was literally I think he was a major of criminal psychology at like a university. So he's a psychopathic serial killer who was at a university studying criminal psychology, which like you can't write that kind of villain. Like it's absurd how like on the nose this fucking guy is. And like I remember when they first brought him in and they found him and stuff, like you could see the way he looks, right, with the like the eyebrows and the nose and everything. And like every news anchor was tripping over themselves not to be pointing out like he just looks like a serial killer. They're just like, just look at him. Like he looks exactly like a serial killer. Like that's how they look. And they expert after expert's like, whoa, hold on. You can't tell that just by looking at it. Like nonstop on the news media, just over and over having this debate about whether or not you can tell if he's a serial killer just by the way he looks. But
I mean, if I saw him, I wouldn't think serial killer.
No, that's
right. No.
All right. What is like, your guys' first
like impression? Wall Street dude or something?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's after
maybe
the fact,
an accountant or something, you know?
I mean, Ted Bundy was like a junior conservative here in Washington, was like before he started just straight up murdering people. So, I mean, maybe there's through lines there for like quote unquote normal people just doing some crazy stuff. But anyways, this jackass murdered some people and then got caught and went to trial, pled guilty so that they wouldn't kill him, and then had to sit there while all the victims kind of read their impact statements against them. And there was this one woman who I believe was the sister of one of the victims that just lambasted this dude. And so I don't know if you guys want to watch it and then maybe comment on it afterwards. I have the video. Adam, maybe you can. I know we tried to do this last time. My video was terrible. So I might be able to tell you what video that is, and then we could try to have you.
Yeah, we can.
Or are you seeing this right now? I wonder if I could just play it right here, and if it will work, we could give it a try.
Yeah, give it a shot. Yeah, we can see it.
Let me know if you can hear it.
You can hear somebody vacuuming.
Can you hear her talking?
No, I think the upload speed is not enough.
Upload it to the Google Doc, and then
paste that link into the.
Yeah, I'll do it into the chat, right? Yeah. Let me throw it in there.
It's 10 minutes long.
It is a little bit of a length there.
It's 3:25 apparently.
Get in the chat here. What is this? Why can't I click on the thing?
Mike's Achilles heel.
Technology.
I don't know if I want to watch this whole 10-minute video, dude.
Well, technically, so if you start at 3 minutes in, it's like 3:25 if you start it inside of there. So it's less than that. Up to you guys though, if you want to do it or not. We can always.
We'll check it out for a bit. We don't have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. I saw it. I think it was this morning that he was. Let me stop sharing my screen here.
You're sharing your history there, Bubba.
It was like was
naked
there,
chest
luckily it's PG.
What was it?
Naked chest ladies.
Hey man, I had some good stuff in there. That's all I got there. But yeah, I was watching it and I saw her reading it out her statement this morning, and I was like, holy shit! I know. I don't think I've seen it like a more badass. If you go to like 325 on the video,
can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear. Wait, hold on.
Pause it.
And I can't.
It's all good. It's all good.
God damn it.
We get the gist of it though. She ripped him a new one, apparently.
It was fucking wild, man. I'll send you guys the video link and just watch it later. But yeah, that was some crazy shit. It was impressive to watch. I think the thing that I was gonna talk about which was just kind of interesting with the whole gods and death thing, is there were like two types of people that were responding to this guy, and one type was that they would get up there and they would just like explain what that guy did to them. Like, you took this person from me, like I can't breathe, like I'm so psychologically tormented. And like in those moments, I feel like I could see him like getting a kick out of it. Like he enjoyed watching them explain to him how he had affected them, right? Like it kind of floated his ego in a way. And so you had a lot of people that came up there and were trying to like talk about how they honestly felt, but it felt like he was kind of getting some out of it. And then this chick came up there and was just like, you are a pathetic piece of like filth, and nothing about you is interesting. Nothing about you is even remotely worth anything. And, you're going to be like a footnote of nothingness. And like she even at one point, I think she ends on it with, because it was like the girl that he killed. She says, if you hadn't attacked them in the middle of the night like a pedophile, she would have kicked your ass, is like the last line that she ends on him. And you could see like teeny little bits of cracks in his face as she's like laying into him in that way. And I love the approach of it. I would like to think that if something crazy happened like that, I wouldn't let my vulnerability show in that moment and just be able to kind of project that kind of strength towards a person like that. But I mean, it's hard to say how you would react, but I wonder what you guys think about in that moment. What would be a reaction of yours, or how you would
watch a reaction of us if we were in her shoes or in his shoes?
Yeah, her shoes. If you had to go before somebody who had done something like that, what would have been your?
She went about it the right way, because I think anybody that goes through the lengths that he did to commit something like that, I think he wants notoriety, right? He wants to be known and remembered and do all this and all that. What she did is just chipped away at that, said, hey, you're going to be a speck in, the span of human history. You're not even going to be remembered. Nobody's going to remember your name. This is, you're nothing. You're absolutely pathetic human being that attacked helpless people, and I think she went about it completely the right way by attacking the main thing that I think he was probably seeking. I mean, I think that for the most part, if people wanted to kill other people, it'd be fairly simple. You don't even have to plot it, right? You could just fucking do it, right? But to go through the lengths and plot it and do all this nonsense means he wanted to make a big show of it somehow. And he's a criminology major, and he thought he could outsmart A, B, and C, and he thought that he could be the one that got away or make a big impact or some bullshit. It's nonsense. He's a pathetic, like she said, a pathetic piece of garbage who's not going to be remembered. Nobody's going to remember his name. And if he actually does make it to live out the rest of his days in jail with people that are probably going to try and kill him, he's not going to be remembered for shit. This is the only reason why we're even talking about it, is because of social media and news media got a hold of this. So it makes for headlines. So that's the only reason why we're talking about it.
Well, the only reason I'm specifically talking about it is her. Like, I loved how she handled it so much that I wanted to bring it up. Like, outside of that, I don't know that I would have, but yeah, she just killed him.
He did that. That was his job, he knew like criminal.
He was studying it. So he went to school. He was trying to like become a criminal psychologist or work in some form of that. I think he watched too much Dexter, maybe. I don't know. I think Frank's onto it, where like he had some sort of fantasy. Supposedly he fit the mold of like he was socially awkward, like nobody liked him. He didn't really have a lot of friends. Everybody kind of ostracized him. I think one news article was like talking about how he liked to spend a lot of time in the dark was something he did, and he would just kind of creep around like a creepy psycho, you know. And so he, you know, clearly had some fixations on this kind of mentality, and probably even idolizing the serial killers, the Ted Bundys, and things like that. And you've seen it before. Richard Ramirez was one who did that, the Night Stalker in the LA back in the day. Was particularly weird because most of them, Ted Bundy, like had a type of person he would kill. Most serial killers have a type, and there's psychological reasons for it. But the Night Stalker, he killed everybody. There was no pattern. And that's why at first they thought it was multiple people. And in the end, he was the kind of person who idolized the serial killers so much he just tried to emulate them, and that was like a copycat thing that he was doing, and it was just super wild. So yeah, I think Frank hit some nails on heads there. And yeah, fuck that guy. Anyways, good segue here into gods, because why not? I mean, if we believe in gods, I'm assuming we're gonna believe that whatever hell you might believe in, that kind of a person's gonna be down there in the fiery pits or whatever might be going on down there. But I think to start it off on the topic of gods, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to start with, or if you want me to kind of get into some stuff.
Nothing specific. I mean, gods are always fascinating to me, you know, just in all the different cultures and stuff. So, I mean, we could talk about that stuff forever.
I mean, they've been around since we've been around.
Yeah.
As long as we've been around, we've been talking about it. So
yeah, that's where I was going to kind of kick it off, right? Which is like since the dawn of time, right? Humans, we've been telling stories of gods. You know, they're the creators, the rulers of the world we live in. Every culture to date has stories of, you know, beings of immense power, omnipresence. In many cases, that like these things are so incredibly powerful, more powerful than humans, that they're like unknowable, right? A lot of them are like entities that are just beyond our comprehension, essentially. And then, you know, in many religions, there's a lot of like, you get the multiple gods, right? So like the Hinduism, you know, some of the like pagan religions, the Greek religions, Norse religions, you get the pantheon setup where you have a grouping of gods that usually have a domain, right? So you like the god of love, the god of war, the god of peace, the god of whatever. And usually they're ruled by like a king of the gods, you know, think Zeus, for instance, in the Greek gods, Odin, in the Norse gods, right? And that's one setup, right? I think here in the West we think of those as kind of maybe older types of religions, since we're largely led by, you know, Christianity and those types of religions out here in the West, where we do the monotheistic thing, right? Where there's just the one God, and usually when you get those religions, right, that would be like Judaism, Christianity, you've got the Islamic faith, right? They also get very touchy about it, and in that you're not allowed to kind of get into any other god, right? You're not allowed to even acknowledge other gods in Christianity, right? You can have no. Although I will say, interestingly, in the Bible, there's some quotes there where you know, God supposedly says you can't worship any god above me, but doesn't say like you can't worship them. It's just you can't put them above my status, which is an interesting thing in the Old Testament.
Also, there's a weird thing in the Bible where like isn't the Jewish term for God Elohim, and Elohim is a multiple. It means multiple gods.
I was just looking that up. I was taking off of what Michael said, and he's right. In most teachings for religion, it's kind of forbidden to worship any other god other than what your God you serve. But like what Adam is, you know, alluding to is like, yeah, the Elohim means, you know, multiple, right? Multiple gods or whatnot, or alludes to it. And then you also have like the ancient Sumerians believed in different gods, right? Multiple gods as well. And not only did they believe in multiple gods, but they also wrote and recorded as if they walked among them, right? Not just people that they worship. They wrote as if, you know, they were walking among them and lived among them and intermingled, and so
yeah.
a lot there.
Were there kings? They even had like a king's list that went back for thousands of years.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting, I think, place to start here with a topic as large as gods is to, I think, kind of like look at that, examine that maybe a little bit, which is that you have a really interesting thing with religion where it's been with us since the dawn of time. I think like that is an interesting point that I've always been kind of fascinated with. And not only has it been with us, but you have the kind of spontaneous storytelling that happens around the globe where, everybody comes up with religion. Every culture comes up with religion. I'm not aware of a culture that does not have a religion. It's something that we all do. And people actually use that as proof that there is a God, right? Or that there is some sort of, godlike entities or religious reality to the world, because everybody has done it, right? Because it's so spontaneous, because these cultures that have never come into contact with each other all developed stories that were very similar to one another's. And most religions, if not all, are structured very similarly too, in that they're generally outlines for like how to live a good life, what to do, what not to do. There's, societal building that's going on in there. But I think that's maybe a cool place to start. It's like, what do you guys make of that? Like, why do you think that we've done that, and that every culture that has existed has created this and has some form of a religion, some form of God, some form of a religious reality about?
It's a good question. This is a good question. I mean, it could be any. I think in some cases it's a person's experience, maybe experienced something outside of themselves and then brought that to their tribe or their people and said, hey, this is what has been told to me. And then it's kind of taken off from there and then turned into like a frame for morality, a frame for how you live your life in that culture. But maybe it just started with somebody having like a crazy experience that said, hey, this is, and then it was built on from that. More kind of like a prophet, maybe like, I know like cults were way more common. Well, they're still common today, but they were common like in ancient times too. So everybody kind of had, their version of the truth and they would bring it to a group of people that then latched on and said, hey, I agree with this and let's go with this. You know what I mean? So maybe the religions that stuck around, maybe they resonate with more people. Maybe there's more of like a universal truth for more people in that sense. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Why?
I'll
how did it come
keep
about?
it kind of brief on that point. And I think honestly that in general, it kind of boils down to just being human beings in general. I think it's human beings trying to kind of make sense of their own reality in a way. And the human brain, I think, is wired to try and organize things and to make sense of things. So, what kind of Adam said, it's like, hey, maybe somebody had an experience of some sort and they're trying to kind of make sense out of it and they create an idea or something like this. I'm not saying that this is what it is, but, but they believe a certain thing and it's hope driven, and then they teach it. And if enough people accept it and believe in it, then I think it kind of sort of takes off. But I think in general, it's become a lot more subjective as opposed to objective. There's so many different branches of each religion. It's hard to keep track of. So where it actually came from and how we keep record of it, it's so blurred. So it's difficult to say. But I think in general, it kind of comes from us trying to kind of make sense of how we feel, what we experience, and what we believe in order for us to kind of guide our own selves towards a potentially, positive future. So I think that's kind of how we're wired, is to kind of survive. So we create this chamber of belief to kind of guide us towards a positive future. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. unsurprisingly have many thoughts on this. I have so many thoughts on this. I could go on for a long time on this, but I think that, you know, when you look at religion, for sure there's those experiences like Adam says, and for sure there's that like trying to make sense of what's around you, right? And I think when you look at history and you go back to those time periods and you try to put yourselves in the shoes of the people that were creating these religions, and I would say like honestly creating them, because like there's maybe a question for later, which is like the difference of a religion versus a cult, right? Because, you know, Adam kind of brought up the cults, and I think there is some interesting delineations in there. But like if you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who is creating a religion, right? Like what are you doing? You're in a time period in which science largely does not exist, right? You don't have any ability to really explain anything in very, especially like modern day critical terms, right? You just can't do that. The words don't exist. Logic doesn't exist. You know the seasons, you know it's hot, you know the plants maybe grow, you know the animals, right? And so early on, you see a lot of religions tell stories, because I think one of the first things humans have done is start telling stories. We started naming things, right? Like there's a thing in Lord of the Rings about the tree ants that woke up because the elves were naming things, and when they gave them names, they started to like move around and talk and gain a conscious of their own. And that's kind of what we did, right? Like as we developed enough brain power, we started categorizing and saying, this is a tree, that's a tiger, this is a that, this one's dangerous, this one's not. And in order to teach the younger generations what you know, you have to teach them. And the best way to teach somebody something is by telling a story. It embeds it in your mind. You know, if you could tell a story about a tiger eating somebody, and or just even tell somebody, right, like, watch out, tigers are bad, they're dangerous, don't go near a tiger. One, you could tell them that, maybe they'll take it. Or you can explain that, you know, there's a demon in this forest and it wants to.
You can create analogies, is what you're saying.
Well, you can make it more memorable. You can give it gravitas. You can make it more powerful and give it something that latches on to people, right, in a really powerful way. And so the original religious creators, in my mind, are storytellers. They're people that write stories, and that's how they view the world. They're trying to explain it through the art of storytelling. And because they don't have scientific terms, they're using their own relationships. They're using their own knowledge of existence, which at the time is very limited to like your tribal unit plus the nature around you. So you get a lot of religions that are based on just that, right? And a lot of gods, like if you look at the Greek gods, the Norse gods, a lot of them were petty. They showed a lot of human characteristics that were not ideal, right? Like these were not the actions of ideal, you know, faultless individuals. You know, in fact, it wasn't really until more modern day times where you had, I was going to say characters. We canceled before we even start, guys. But like characters like Jesus Christ, where they're pure people, they don't do any wrong. You know, that's a much more modern day type of a god or a leader or an entity that you're kind of following. Back in the day, mostly the gods were terrifying, and you followed them so that they wouldn't fuck with you because they were going to do it, right? The gods of death, the gods of sun, of love, all these things, you would pray to them to try to give you something, because if you didn't show them honor, they would withhold those things from you, right? And so all of this is storytelling, and it's a way to interpret what's going on around you. And then I think as, you know, you play the game of telephone too, you start going from people who have told stories into people that had experiences, and then people that are relating what other people had as experiences, and what might have been a story becomes a fact and a date and a time ascribed to it, right? And it becomes more of a tangible, real thing that people then build whole religions and societies off of, right? And that's kind of how you see the origin of humanity spread out, is through these stories that get told, and people kind of group together around them as an identity to kind of protect themselves. You know, and then you eventually end up in a place where that story has become so real that people are willing to die for it. They're willing to, like, it is the core identity of who they are and what they are. And you get things like I don't know if you guys have read the Book of Revelations in the Bible, like the last chapter of the Bible. So it do it sometime. It is wild. It is like the most crazy acid trip of like a fantasy story you will ever read. There's 3-headed dragons at the bottom of the earth. There's zombies. There's fucking angels with eyes in the back of their head and 21 wings, and it's the apocalypse point of the story, right? And so, like, thinking about that, I was kind of thinking about like how could somebody write this like at that time, because it's so fucking out there. Like, it's so wild. Like, you couldn't write. You can, but it's difficult to write something that like Lovecraftian, like that otherworldly, you know, and similar like Milton with Paradise Lost and the trip that he goes through hell, right? You get some of these religious stories that are just amazingly well detailed, like to the level of a high-end fiction writer, and yet they fully believed what they were seeing, right? And I think that an interesting thing happens where you are at a place where you're kind of opening up your mind to the creative influence, right? Like, where does the creative spark come for to write a story? It's something that's kind of innate in all of us, right? And so you kind of open it up and you're wanting to write something, you know. So if you're a monk back in the day and you're writing this shit, and you open up your mind and you're like, God, please send me a sign. All of your mind is intent on being like, send me images. I want them. Tell me the truth. Like, you are mind fucking yourself into like asking for this, right? Which is really just spooling up your imagination. And you have a history of religious doctrine that you've read and studied for 30, 40, 50 years, which coats your entire image. It coats everything you see. How you view everything is already primed inside of there. It's your subconscious. It's been built off of the religious doctrine that you grew up on. And so you're sitting there just like, tell me stories, and you're entering almost like a fugue state, right? And then you start seeing images coalesce of demons and monsters and apocalypses, because that's just imagination. And that's kind of what happens if you've been raised on a steady diet of this shit, and you start writing it down because you're like, I'm seeing images, I'm seeing this stuff, and you get into the flow of like writing a story. And I think you end up with like what Revelations is, which is a fictional story in a time in which people didn't understand where stories even came from, right? Like, and even today it's hard to tell, right? Like, some people still will talk about how a god or gods or the muses or whatever it is, it's a funnel, right? Like, we're not even actually the ones who are writing this. It comes from an exterior place rather than an interior one. And when you couple that with a lack of knowledge of science and psychology, I think you end up with a lot of those really crazy, wild stories. And so, yeah, I think
they're all vast exaggerations, is what you're saying.
Yes, but I will say this, so I don't sound completely like an atheist asshole here. The interesting part is that although, yes, I think largely everything one of those is gigantic, exaggerated stories that serve the purpose of trying to get across whatever moral story you're trying to tell, or trying to exert control over a population through fear tactics, and that's happened, you know, throughout history in different religions and cults and all sorts of things.
Right, to establish control.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's a very good way to control people, and it has been forever. However, like Adam said, there are some stories that have stood the test of time, and the interesting part is, although these are all fictional stories, a lot of them come from the same basic truths and talk about the same basic things, right? And so they'll talk about, you know, thou shalt not kill. It's how do you be a good person? The core concepts of religion generally revolve around a morality that exists as a universal truth, right? And although some of that might change, and what is a morality and what is a moral changes kind of culturally, the basic concepts of trying to be moral exist in every single religion. And I think that maybe is the true essence of what religion is and what a god is an attempt to explain what morality is through a cultural lens that's set up by, you know, the entire history of humanity growing out of a dark age into an enlightened one, and you get religion. I think that's, in my estimation, that's what it is.
I think the other big question that it tries to answer is like, why are we here? What are we doing here? Which is like everyone can relate to that question, right? Just spinning on this rock hurling through space around a black hole. Like, what are we doing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So trying to answer that question, I think, and giving, having some answer to it, is probably comforting for a lot of people,
Yeah, it is for sure. And I mean, maybe we could jump into that kind of part of the conversation of the idea of like religion as a control mechanism versus religion as a true expression of a religion or a ideology, morality, whatever you want to call it. If you are, people are always desperate for a purpose, right? And so if you want to control people, you give them a purpose and you tell them, hey, there's this God, it exists, it is amazing, and if you do right by that God, you're going to be taken care of, all these good things are going to happen to you. Like this is how you come out on top, right? And this is what you're put on this earth to do, is to serve this God. Oh, and by the way, I'm the speaker of this God. And so by do what the God says, I really mean do what I can say, because I'm the one who's telling you what God says. And so now I'm middleman in this stuff. You know what I mean?
That's where it gets dirty. Yeah. But where it gets interesting is when you have, when there's a way like, okay, here's the steps that you can take to access this God, right? Almost like a formula. And then people can reproduce it and experience it for themselves. That's when it gets interesting. It's like, okay, so maybe not so much just a story, right?
That's an interesting concept, right? Like we're talking about trying to like apply some level of scientific litmus test to religion, right? Like here's an actual formula that you can do that we can test on different people, and they'll all come out with the same solution, right? If it does that, then it's true. I would say that it's a very interesting thing to examine, and I know you know about this, Adam, but like the example of, and I know we're going to tangent into aliens at some point, because I could see Frank, just the gears in his head, just fucking waiting to jump in on these aliens. Just I could see that dude from Ancient Alien Theory with the fucking hair, like the hair's just growing on Frank's head and just getting bigger as he's like, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
It's aliens.
But like I know you it was the Fourth Kind, the movie The Fourth Kind, that was about the psychologist that did all the hypnotist studies on the people that had seen alien encounters, and he had done tests across the country, and specifically up in Alaska, and would put them through hypnosis, and they would recount almost the exact same event, right? Very similar in nature.
Yeah, that's tricky, because hypnosis, you can really lead people and implant, like, exactly, suggest false memories, and that's
right. And that was kind of the pitfall of what he had done, is that like, and the other psychologists had looked at it and said, look, I'm not saying that this is not a phenomenon, because the amount of this is substantial. Like it's wild that this is so big, is kind of what you covered. But looking into the details of what you did, there are many examples of you leading these people, of showing them kind of what, you're giving them the answer that you
so you saw a UFO, right?
Oh, you know what I mean? UFO. Tell me about this horrible experience in which an alien came into your room and stuck their finger up your butt. It's like that level of kind of leading. And so like I think you have to be extremely careful with any scientific study, but especially around religion, where if you were to try things like that, you have to be so secure in not allowing any bias to creep in there, where the people that are administering the test are a part of that faith, where the people that are taking it are already parts of those faiths, where you're the lead up to it, right? Like, are you taking ayahuasca, and before you take ayahuasca in the jungle, we're telling you all these stories? And again, just kind of like my earlier, thoughts on how religion works, we're priming you, we're giving you all of this information so that it's front of your mind, and then we're going to give you some drugs and you're going to trip out. And because the last thing you were thinking about was all this religious activity, that's going to be what you trip out about. You know what I mean? And does that mean that it's a truth, or does that mean that it is a clever con that has been developed to convince people that is, exactly what's going on?
Well, the ayahuasca thing is interesting too, because out of all the plants in the rainforest that they could have, that they needed to mix together, there's like 1 million different species in the jungle, right?
They got lucky.
You have to have an MAOI, an MAO inhibitor, and then the ayahuasca, right? Just the ayahuasca on its own, it wouldn't do anything. So how did they know to mix those two specifically? And when asked, they say, well, the spirits told them. The chances of them finding that out on their own is like 1 in a million, right? So yeah. It's just things like that makes it interesting, to say the least, you know?
No. So the high probability of it being likely means alien or deity intervention.
Yeah,
the pyramids.
Something.
Well, let's talk about the pyramids.
Well, it's interesting. It is interesting because, like,
it's at least supernatural, like above the natural world that we know. It's probably like natural, but it's just on a different level, something that we can't.
I mean, we are really good at getting lucky. Maybe. I mean, that could just be it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe.
Good old-fashioned fucking good luck.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe. We also like
the big maybe. Yeah.
Part of the thing about like us just being lucky is that what our luck is that we live at a time in which we stand upon the corpses of the billions and billions of people that have come before us and eaten the poison plants.
It's got really dark really fast.
Where I know, right? But like how do we know what's edible and not edible? It's some asshole somewhere stuck it in his mouth and died, and then some other people went, oh shit, we shouldn't eat that, like that, don't eat that shit, right? And that
unless we were taught agriculture, which a lot of the Sumerian cultures believe that they were taught, and they attributed a lot of their knowledge to the gods.
Sure, but if
they have how many hundreds recipes for beer?
They do. I mean, if somebody has that many recipes for beer, they're clearly onto some shit for sure. But
and you knew how to preserve it, right? They put in clay tablets that could withstand tens of thousands of years, not pieces of paper.
It's it is the level of societal advancement that existed in a lot of these ancient cultures, the Mayans, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, is insane considering the level of technology they had. I mean, even the British Empire, the Romans, all.
Do you believe we're the most advanced civilization we've ever lived on the planet Earth?
I do, but I do.
Interesting.
But that's just because
can we replicate the pyramids?
They can. I'm pretty sure I've seen some studies
to the extent that they did it then, having the tools that they did then.
I think that the thing is when you start attributing gods or aliens to culture, and it's an interesting.
I'm just asking if we would be capable in terms of our current advancement.
I think that we can, and I'm fairly certain that there are people
using the same tools, but just our own knowledge.
I'm fairly certain that I've seen some. We should, I don't know if anyone has any ability to look this stuff up on the fly, but I am fairly certain I've seen some people talk about the fact that yes, they could do that. I know there are people that say they can't, and
I've heard both.
I've seen like them using like water elevators. It's
there's
crazy how they lifted the stones and things like that. I could see that, but at the same time, really, a fucking elevator to lift a 200-ton stone? They thought of that.
The thing is that we know for a fact that human beings are extremely ingenuitive. It is a trait of ours, regardless of whether you believe inception, that came from us or that came from an external source of God or an alien. Human beings are extremely clever. We are extremely good at figuring things out and creating solutions to problems. And, that is something that is tested and an absolute fact of humanity. And so when you start going in, and this is I like ancient astronaut theory in that it's fun. And in the first couple episodes was you got an interesting idea here, right? There's some evidence to support that.
Some of the logic that they use to reason, or to justify their beliefs to some degree, I agree with. I think, and I keep going back to this because it's one of the most prominent, things, or it's one of the most questioned things that we have to look at that's still around is the pyramids, right? So when you look at the pyramids and how much physical labor, how much effort it actually took to build something of that magnitude, you had to have, for some reason, expected something out of it. Like the reason why we build some of the biggest structures in the world today is because we know we're going to get something out of it. The dams, bridges, things of that nature, we know we're going to be getting something out of it. So we put a lot of effort into it. When you look at the actual structure, and scientists have analyzed it and so many people are looking at it, the way that it's intricately made to route certain energies within it, at least this is what they're saying, right? And scientists that know a lot more than I do, they're saying that this
you misunderstand the
was
podcast,
acting as a conductor, and it was gathering energy to some degree and doing something with it. What it was, I don't know. We may be more technologically advanced today in today's day and age, but I think that they were more advanced in other ways besides an iPhone, right? They were more advanced potentially spiritually. They were more in tune with the planet, and I think that they were more in line with, the natural energies of the world and the universe, for that matter. I think that we are definitely not the most civilization or most advanced civilization in a certain sense. Technologically, sure, we're very connected. We can have what we're doing right now, which they could only dream of. Back then, they would see this as sorcery, but I think that they had other things that they were definitely more advanced than we were.
There's an interesting conversation in there too about like when we create stuff. So the word technology, right? It's like not of the earth. It's man-made. It for whatever for whatever reason, technology is not natural. But on some level, doesn't that not make sense? Because like if we're saying that what we make is not natural, then what we're saying is that we are not natural. That we are
creation is not natural.
Well, yeah, that's like the same argument that's saying that cities are not natural. Well, actually, they are. For human existence, it's obviously natural. It's everywhere.
If you believe that we evolved on this planet, if you believe that we came from this planet, we're part of this planet, we've natural selection, all of these things to the pinnacle of where we're at this moment, then you have to believe that everything we have done and will do is a part of that natural environment. Is there a way
that include creating a god?
That's a really good question, right? Like, it does.
1 second, guys.
Yeah, hey, I gotta pee, so I'll be right back. Too much water. Okay, sorry, man. Okay, what were you about to say?
What was I about to ramble on about? Yeah, I mean, I think that we are the conversation around whether or not we're natural is an interesting one, and how we tend to try to, when you look at all of the historical context of our understanding of the universe, we always put ourselves at the center, right? Like we are always very, very important in our understanding of reality. And maybe that's because we are, but maybe that's also just because we're self-centered creatures that are individuals and see things from an individual perspective. And so we have to give ourselves kind of a grandiose,
well, that's why we believe that the entire universe revolved around us, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we don't, that's all we know. Because, I mean, obviously until disclosure happens, we are the only things that in the universe that we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it seems natural to kind of have that mindset. Even if I'm not saying I agree with it, but I can see how it could happen.
We're definitely, as far as we know, like you're saying, like we are unique. We do have not seen anything else like us to date, as far as we are aware. And so like that does make us unique, but also fungus is super unique. Like look at the way fungus behaves in the mycelial network and the way it webs its way through the entire forest and transmits, the decaying matter to the roots of trees that are spread out over like hundreds of square miles. You look at the way that, butterflies migrate, where they have what's called intergenerational migration patterns, where a butterfly flying from Canada to Mexico will die and reproduce 3 times, and each iteration wakes up and knows instinctively where to go, having not been told to do it, having no understanding of anything around it other than I'm going to go this direction, and yet they go to the same place every year.
That's or like the bees dance. Like, what the hell's up with that? You know what I mean?
We are not as unique as we like to make ourselves out to be. You know, like, are we unique in this sense of our ingenuity to build and to create things? Yes, for sure. But are we the most unique thing even on this planet? Probably not. You know, there's a lot of us that we are based off of a logic that makes a very solid amount of sense. And there are some animals that just make no goddamn sense whatsoever. And we got Agent Smith up in here. I can't hear it. I can't hear what he's saying.
You can't hear it?
No.
I think only Adam can share audio files.
Oh,
is
man.
What's happening. There might be a button on here where usually when you say share, it's like share audio or something, or share computer audio.
Yeah.
When you click the screen, I don't know if that's a possibility.
It's cool. I can just do this real quick.
I mean, since you brought up the Matrix, there it is. Since you brought up the Matrix, I mean, what do you guys think about?
It's in the Google Doc, Adam.
The simulation theory. I'm sure you guys have heard of simulation theory.
Yeah, I feel like it's really interesting. I think it's just like religion. It's just saying the same things that religion is in a different way. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I think it's just a different way of saying that. It's really similar to a lot of like the spiritual teachings and stuff like that. It's like
it is,
which is cool. It blends well. I think it's not, and in that sense, I don't think it's wrong. You know, it's just. I find that interesting. It's cool. I like it.
I do wonder if you will see more of a, you know, there's been a lot of books and stories about this, like A Stranger in a Strange Land does it a little bit. Helen's writings where he talks a bit about like New Age religion in a scientific age at times, and you do have to wonder, you know, what the new front is going to be, and yeah, like simulation theory. A technological religion, a religion based in a understanding that is on the net or artificially intelligent driven or simulatively experienced. You know, like there's a lot of different ways to explain reality, and now we have even more ways to describe it because we have technology and way more words and understanding, right? So in a way, like religion could even spiral into some territories it's never been in before because of how technologically advanced we are.
I guess I could have shared audio. Sorry not to cut you off there, Mike.
No, you're good. And yeah, I think you can.
Can you guys hear it?
Stared at it.
That plays into what you were talking about. What's natural, what's not beauty. Natural. God, I hate subtitles.
Dude, I can't live without them. I love them.
19.
I say you're.
Skip to like 2 minutes.
During my time here.
Can you hear?
I'm going to be honest.
I was trying to get across.
Okay.
So The Matrix is just one of the greatest movies of all time. It's phenomenal. I mean, the cyberpunk whole thing is, I was talking to you guys about Ghost in the Shell. Go watch Ghost in the Shell, for fuck's sake, the movie. Literally, it is like they created the Matrix out of Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell. Those two movies are cyberpunk origin. They deal with AI, simulation theory, like all of these things in such great detail. And like, I love it. But that also is kind of some bullshit. Like a lot of that movie is some bullshit. There's a lot of funniness about it, right? Like we're just really successful. Other mammals do that. Other mammals have eaten their way into extinction because they were so good at what they did that they outcompeted everything, consumed everything, and then died. And that's what happens when you have a species that transplants into other areas. That is exactly what happens. They will take over and destroy the entire ecosystem. Like, we are 100% carnivorous, monstrous creatures that have been honed through, you know, centuries of evolution, which has sharpened the blade of our cruelty, essentially.
We're designed that way.
We 100% are. Like, that is as human, that is as natural as, like, if you can't look at nature with a straight face and be like, it's kumbaya. There's a balance to the fuck that shit. There is cutthroat. I'm like, everything wants to kill everything in nature. That's how that shit works. That's the equilibrium, is that everything wants to kill everything. Like that's how that equilibrium is maintained. So like on some levels,
everything else.
Yeah, and we're just better at eating shit than other things. You know what I mean? Like that's how that worked. And so like I it's a great line. It's a great model. I mean, God damn it, that it's such a cool fucking movie. But yeah, that's some hot bullshit right there for sure.
It also assumes that viruses are bad, but
and not natural.
Why is being a virus bad? You know what I mean? I'm not saying one way or the other, but just to play devil's advocate, right? We kind of have an obsession with good and bad, but in nature, there's not really good and bad when because it's like nature is violent.
It's survival. Nature is ruthless and
necessity.
They don't think like good or bad. It's just it is what it is, right? And viruses, you could argue that viruses aren't bad. I mean, they are for the host, but so is being eaten by some predator, or you know what I mean. It's all feeding off of other things.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's I think the reality of how nature works is in that vein.
I'm not advocating for us to ruin the earth or anything like that. I'm just saying like
no.
You might not be, but what if God intended us to do so?
God has told me
that He created our nature, right?
Yeah,
so if our nature is to detonate a million megaton nuke and blow ourselves to smithereens, was that His intention?
Hey, like again, who
He also gave us reason, and
I don't know if I can find that. Oh my! I won't play it because it's gonna be
so. But Michael, you mentioned that I would eventually bring this back to aliens, and I'm about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned, how does this kind of tie into religion? And there's a figure that a lot of people, try to discredit, and I want to believe this figure, right? You guys, I'm sure have heard of Bob Lazar and who that person is.
Yeah, interesting dude.
Yeah.
I like
his story. He very briefly, and he didn't really like talking about that sort of stuff, and that's probably what lended me to, or what made me believe him even more, is the fact that he didn't want to be acknowledged.
Right.
He didn't like talking about this kind of stuff. Was that a play? Was that his way of trying to get people to believe him more? Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, he seemed to me genuine about the things that he was talking about, and after decades of this stuff kind of being revealed slowly but surely, some of the things that he says have been vindicated here and there. But one of the things that he did talk about was religion, and like, why would aliens and religion ever kind of cross paths, right? It's mostly like cold hard calculation technology, that's it, right? But he talked about when he was in service that they had a very classified document that talked about what he referred to as, and what they referred to as, the containers.
Right? I heard a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what he said is that, human beings are essentially a container to keep the soul intact.
Yeah, for souls.
Right?
Yeah,
and religion is a way to kind of protect the soul. So instead of like me babbling on about it, I got the clip over here so I can just kind of show you guys, so I can actually share my screen properly this time.
So they're trying to preserve this. The aliens basically harvest or feed off of the souls, and so they're trying to preserve them in a pristine condition. And so, if it's
religion is a way to do that.
If it's tainted by sin, then it's like it's not as good as a source. Then okay, sure. I got you.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's also like essentially Scientologists. That's what they believe. It's very similar.
Okay.
All right. Let me know if this is coming through. All right.
Yeah.
You're muted. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, all right. I'll say.
Make me do it.
You're really bending my arm here.
Pause for like 2 seconds. Okay, fine. Fuck it. I'll tell you.
All right.
Make me do it.
So what that
interesting.
That makes me think about, like, I think us three were talking about how like the shamans would practice from the moment they would do these journeys, like from the moment they would die, and they would have a path to follow. So they knew exactly where they would go as soon as they died. They knew exactly where their soul had to go as soon as they died. And either you, Frank, or Michael had said something that made me relate it to the shamans, but it was like another culture was doing that or something like that.
No, yeah. So I was reading the Bhagavad Gita.
That's right? What it was.
And,
yes.
And
yeah.
It essentially means that, like, if you are going to be transcending, you have to travel a certain path after you're passing, and you have to travel upwards, right? And you're not supposed to be traveling. You're not supposed to be traveling essentially to the moon. Otherwise, your soul essentially gets recycled back because you haven't ascended enough. You go back through the trials of living life on Earth in order to eventually ascend to wherever it is that you're supposed to be going. So you're not supposed to go to the moon. You're supposed to go out into the darkness and outer space to go back to where you were supposed to be.
So maybe those teachings are a way to escape the container setup that Lazar's talking about. Maybe that's our way out of here. There's like multiple traditions trying to tell us, hey, this is how you escape that.
Right. You're supposed to escape the cycle, right? You're supposed to, like people say, heaven and hell, right? It's like some people say that this is your trial. This is your test, right? Some people say, oh, it's heaven's here on earth. Well, or hell's here on earth. People say it both ways. I think it's just another test, and depending on how you live your life is depending on how you ascend. If you're mentally and spiritually capable of ascending.
Makes sense to me.
I have questions.
Ask your questions. Ask your questions.
No questions.
Look, first off, I did a very brief search, so I don't know but I don't know what the hell he's talking about with the star following Mary. That I don't know. I've never heard that, and I don't know that actually is in the Bible. I know there's references to like the North Star. There's references to the North Star, and like most of the old time, the stars and using stars to navigate and to show you where to go, it's as old as time. Like it's how we navigated with stars. So how much of that is an interpretation? It's the same thing that ancient astronaut theory does, which is it takes things possibly out of context to support their theory. So, okay, right? Like he starts it off by questioning. He's like, I saw a document that was this thick, and it was this exact thickness on religion, and it was a classified document. And then he goes, why would documents about religion be classified? It's like, well, let's just, before we move on into anything else that this guy's about to say, let's analyze that. Because religion's fucking powerful. Because control, like we just outlined, like religion is control. Religion is the most powerful motivating force on this goddamn planet. And you better bet your ass that the governments and the CIAs and everybody has read into and done studies on and developed ways to try to manipulate and control and use religion to their advantage. That's 100% accurate. So why? And you're questioning that as if it's somehow suspect that.
Yeah, but I feel like that's probably like the least, religion. I feel like that's the least important thing to be.
Well, but he starts it off that way.
The fact that there was a document.
He starts it off that way, and then he goes into the whole twist my arm about it. You know what I mean? So like just as like a basic like test of the video.
Sure,
we've got a guy.
Sure. No, I agree, but I also think that's probably one of the weakest things to attack.
No, I'm just going one by one. I'm going one by one. That was the first thing to attack. That wasn't the greatest thing to attack. That was
I'll give you that. The first thing. Right? You said you had questions, multiple. Right. Sure, I'll give you that. But let's humor him. Right? What's your take on the whole containers thing?
Okay, yeah, I'll give you my take on it, but I will also just let me talk about the humoring part of this, which is my problem with ancient astronaut theory, is that they have an interesting idea, and then they go, what if aliens built the pyramids? And I'm like, cool, that's a rad, like, that's interesting, right? And then they go, if that's true, let me give you 7 seasons of add-on where I didn't prove my original point, but I'm going to wildly speculate. And it's like, you gotta, like, okay, like, it's fun to, like, let's take him at face value and see where this goes, but you never prove religion first. Dude, it's not. It's absolutely not. You're taking this dude on faith, right? And so, like,
your book of Revelations, isn't that what you were talking about?
It's both fun and entertaining to delve into this, but at the end of the day, like, how
monetarily profitable.
Yes, and no, there's no, like, the whole, like, I always laugh a little bit at people who are, like, I had and we don't have to go into this necessarily, but my mom likes the guy Jordan Peterson, right? Which I do not like him. Full cards on the table there. Everyone has a different take on him, right? But my point with him is that my mom would always come up to me and she's like, "Oh, this guy is so smart and he has all these talks because he doesn't even charge people to like get this info. He's just really trying to help people." And I'm like, "You don't understand. He's selling books. He has these talks, and yes, a lot of his content is free, and he's trying to help people, right? But he makes money off of all of this. So like, don't fall for the whole like, oh, he's a selfless person who's just trying to help people. This is his job.
In the words of the Joker, if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. In my estimation, there's something wrong with lying about that and trying to pretend like you're not making money off of it or that you have some sort of unaltered motive.
I've heard him openly state that he makes a shit ton of money.
He doesn't claim that he.
But I think some of his followers have this impression of it, and whether or not that's his fault is like a separate conversation to have. But when you get these people that talk about philosophy or talk about certain things in a way that makes them seem like they're altruists while making lots of money off of it or having gains that call into question why they're giving this information off, I think it's worthy of like looking at that and not just ignoring it out of hand. And so like Bob Lazar, right? Like he made a living off of this shit. Like he 100% did. Like this is what he was doing. He was going around. He got interviewed.
Didn't it ruin his life? Like
did it ruin his life, or did he? This is what he did, right? And he did this, and then a lot of people got pissed. I was reading the wiki where he went to jail, and there was a prostitution ring and drugs and other shit that he went down for. So was it fabricated and part of the cover up, right? And he was telling the secrets that they didn't want him to, so they lied about his records and got him on some trumped up Diddy charges and baby oil shit and threw him in jail. Like, I mean, who's to know? But my point is, and I don't know Bob Lazar from anyone else, he may be honestly recounting the things that he knows, but I think that having a healthy skepticism about all of these people is you should always start from that point. And then go into, all right, let's look at what they're saying, right? So like
just because you're entertaining an idea doesn't mean that you're believing in the idea.
Yeah, and I getting that out there when we go down some of these, I think it's just something I like to do. But the containers thing is interesting, right? So like you talk about the containers. I know you, Adam, in particular, went into it with the Anunnaki, right? Where they did some.
Elohim, you mean?
No, it was the one where they like put people into trances and they were like recording the interaction, they were vesseling some sort of like entity through them.
Oh, you're talking about the Law of One stuff, I think.
The Law of One shit, right? Like, so
that wasn't the Anunnaki, but it was a channeling session. That was,
Anunnaki is completely different than whatever.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I'm getting my things here messed up. But
Come on, man, get it together.
they did the thing, right, where they channeled, the entity into them, and then they were asking it questions, and it was responding in these kind of cryptic phrases, and it almost.
It was. Did you read that? I think you got. You got the first book, right?
I don't know if I read the whole thing. I read parts of it for sure.
At least parts of it. It's good stuff, dude.
It's interesting.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like for like face value, I love it because it's so wild. It's a wild.
I think you like it.
Absolutely wild.
It's cool. It's cool as shit.
The thing about it, right, is that one of the touches that I like about it is that when this thing was like communicating through the person, it was speaking in cryptic phrases. It was also speaking as if English isn't its first language. Like it's trying to get across concepts to us with its higher logic, but using our words, and it doesn't really know how to do that. It's difficult for it, right? And so there's an interpretation going on there, right? And so when you're talking about containers and aliens, and Lazar did not at all speak about like which aliens, what room, who was talking to who. Let's see a transcript. Like none of that. It's just kind of vague and talking about these things. So. But let's assume
a small clip, but he does go into
no, sure. But like let's take him on face value again that this is something he saw and that we're going down the rabbit hole. So this is true, right? It's an alien telling us these things for reasons. But okay, like let's again agree on that. Like okay, we're getting the download.
Which alien? Wait, what are we talking about?
The containers, right? That the aliens were.
No, he worked at at Area 51, and he saw these documents and worked on a.
But the documents were referencing how the aliens were referring to us as containers. That's how we got the containers, right? Okay. So, if we are saying humans are containers based off an alien telling us that raises a whole bunch of questions in and of itself, right? Like, number one, why the fuck would the alien tell us that? Is that like you're already suspect? You're telling us that you're fucking with us, and now you're going to give us more information? Isn't that just continuing to fuck with us? Do I want to believe anything you're saying? Like,
sure,
there's skepticism in and of itself for that,
right?
But like,
I think this is all under the pretense that there is an ongoing relationship between the highest levels of.
Sure.
They have some agreements going on. Right?
They have some things going on. They have some things you can't.
Why would they bring any of us along? They're so advanced.
You can't abduct this many people at once. You have to put them back where they were found.
These are like treaties far and above us, right? Like they have been. If you believe this logic, they have been manipulating us since day one, and so they are so far above us. They are essentially gods. Like we could never do anything to them. They are. We are a science experiment to them.
Maybe there's
why would they? In matter of fact,
that want to experiment. Maybe there's ones that want to help us and they can't interfere.
Sure, and I like John definitely believed in that stuff. My stepdad.
That kind of goes back to similar. That draws similarities to what our original topic is about, which is gods. Right? There are benevolent gods. There are gods that threaten our existence. There are gods that don't want us.
You could argue the devil is a god too. There are evil entities that are also considered gods or godlike. Hades.
Right. And this is all stuff that could have been interpreted throughout the years, as opposed to like, they're gods, right? But in fact, they're just actual, extraterrestrial.
That's ancient aliens, right? That's the core of ancient alien, right? Which is again very interesting. I have core problem, but let's continue on the container talk here because I don't want to get too sidetracked.
I think you like the container talk.
I will continue to go into this bizarre thing here. My point is this, and I'm even trying to like give an honest interpretation of this, which is like, let's believe.
He usually doesn't like to come back to points. He just drifts off. So
let's believe the
chamber here.
All of the things that Lazar wants to tell us. Let's believe that he saw the file that was this thick. Let's believe it was on religion. Let's believe that for some reason we were talking to aliens and that they told us all of their evil. We caught them monologuing like a Bond villain, and they were just telling us all the shit that they were doing to us, and we can jotting that shit down. Let's assume all of that happened, right? Which is a hell of an assumption, but let's assume it happened. The interesting thing that I would draw is like an alien in the same sense that the Law of One stuff, where they're channeling, right? You're having a conversation with somebody who maybe doesn't understand your language very well, or is maybe even communicating in a manner that they're not used to. So like in a lot of lore around aliens, some of them communicate telepathically, some of them have different modes of doing these things, right? Like it's not always simple verbal communications in alien lore. And so could containers and vessels and souls and things like that be some assumptions that we are making in that equation? Could it be attempts of the alien or the entity to try to describe something in a way that we would understand it, and they're trying to dumb it down, and so like it's not necessarily exactly what's going on?
Lost in translation a bit.
Yes, 100%, right? Like, and we're also playing telephone here as well. But like, so if we're working under that assumption, we can say containers are what? Containers contain things. It's a holder of something. We jump to souls because souls are what we jump to. You could argue that. I think what I would put forward is an interesting
containers of other than a consciousness.
Consciousness is what is
my
well, that's where I would go into is that
the closest thing we can think of is a soul potentially.
Correct, and I think that the soul is the description of what a soul is the first draft of us understanding consciousness, and I think that consciousness is a actual tangible effect in this universe as much as gravity or anything else, that you essentially have to have consciousness in order to have existence. Like you can't have one without the other. You have to have consciousness in order.
I think we've talked about that before too. Yeah.
To be existence, right? So what are we containers of? We are containers of consciousness. And not just like we're not special in this equation, but we are containers of consciousness, and we are important in that we are a part of the thing that gives the universe its existence. And I think that, if you want to take Bob Lazar at face value, and if you want to try to decipher what he's doing, maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe that's an alien trying to tell us that we are in fact conscious beings, and they're trying to enlighten us to the fact that like you are an important part of this universe in that you are containers of consciousness.
We're just incapable. We're incapable of perceiving that. This is like the whole theory of like trying to explain to a 2-dimensional object what a 3-dimensional object is, right? It's like the whole thing about like a tesseract, right? It's like, and there are potentially infinite dimensions above third dimension, fourth dimension. There's no way to communicate that sort of thing, right? When it's not something you can put into words. You have to be shown. You have to be brought into that dimension in order to show, hey, look, this is where you're standing from here. From our point of view, this is where we're seeing you. They can't even see you if you're like a 3-dimensional. Wasn't that there's like some kid, like some 12-year-old that was trying to explain this, and there's like, oh, this kid disappeared.
There's a guy.
I think that sounds familiar. There's a good book called Flatland that makes that comparison. It's about trying to explain a third dimension to a second dimension being, and it's like it's broken down super simply. But there's a short book called Flatland. You should check it out if you haven't. Highly recommended.
There's a physicist who did this amazingly. I'm trying to find his name right now. He did the TV show that was really famous. He's like one of the most famous physicists on the Carl Sagan. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me try to. I can do this. Yeah, Carl Sagan.
Couldn't remember his name. How dare you?
I know. It's bad. But he does a talk about just that. Let me see if I can pull it up. Talking about explaining.
Oh, I got maybe 20 minutes tops.
20 minutes tops. Nice.
It's 10 o'clock already. Yeah. And that's pushing it. So
yeah, I'll try to go quick here, but then let me.
But you guys can keep. Oh, I think I'm the host though.
No, I think we can probably. Is this it?
No, you can leave. I think, and
okay,
you don't have to let everybody else leave. I believe.
We could try it if you guys want to keep going.
Let me.
Just tell her she can wait at. All right. Just tell her she can wait.
If only that was the reason.
Okay, I'm going to drop this in the chat, fellas. Somebody pick it up and try to play it, and let's hope that it actually works. This is Carl Sagan talking about just that. And he talks about essentially a 2-dimensional being picked up by a 3-dimensional people and what it would have seen, and then being placed back down in its 2-dimensional setting and told to explain what it saw. And he goes into amazing detail about
That's basically like a lot of these abductions kind of.
Yeah, like 100%. It's again, religion is
full screen.
Is curved.
Oh, he's talking about Flatland.
Carl Sagan.
So you don't have to read Flatland because he just basically explained everything.
Carl Sagan's fucking amazing. Like, go watch Carl Sagan talk about scientific principles. Him like Neil deGrasse Tyson. The Cosmos is the show that he did, right? And then Tyson took it over. And they are phenomenally good at explaining extremely high-end scientific principles to idiots like us in ways that we can actually understand it. And it's very entertaining, very fun to do. But that is exactly what we're talking about, right? It's like, how do you... If you're especially, and I know you kind of go in for this a little bit, Adam, which is that aliens are extra-dimensional beings. They're not necessarily extraterrestrial. They're extra-dimensional beings that exist in states around us, through us, whatever it might be. Communication with those things by nature has to be difficult. Like they're just the kind of what Sagan is talking about there. The experience, the perspective of those two creatures, of a third dimension and fourth dimension creature, are so vastly different that for one to talk to the other, number one, it's probably got to be the more intelligent, the one with the more perspective, the fourth dimension talking down to the third dimension to try to explain in our very childlike understanding of what our existence is, and having a difficult way of doing that. It's like if you ever try to talk to a kid about something that doesn't understand it, it's very difficult to get across concepts because they just don't understand what you're trying to say. You know what I mean? And so I think that what Lazar was doing is, if we take him at face value and if we accept everything that he said, I think that you would still have to suspect that there's a lot being lost in translation with those kinds of experiences and those kinds of stories. And even to go back to the original like religious conversation that we had, which is all this gods and stuff, right? Which is that, I think that is religion in part, is us trying to explain something that we cannot explain. And in so doing, we filter those concepts through our cultural understanding and our scientific understanding and our moral understanding. And then you get what becomes religion told through story and parable and then, utilized for different purposes by humanity. But, I think that it all comes from an attempt to explain something that is by nature unexplainable. And I think that one of the freeing aspects of religion and spirituality is if you are able to actually let go of the concept of control, you become more contented and you become kind of more enlightened. And that's a lot of conceptual, like religions believe in that, which is that they're trying to get you to release your control and to kind of admit that you don't understand and that you will never understand and that that's okay. You're not supposed to understand.
At least not in this existence.
Sure, but we can't know any other existence, you know what I mean, until we do, right?
You can't bet on any other existence, so why give up 100% control?
No, well, because you're giving up control of your perceived control over that other thing that you can't know, right? And so what you're gaining is control over the things you do know. You can control your life. I can control my actions right now. I can control who I talk to.
Nobody really truly knows. You can believe.
Well, my point is there are people that are extraordinarily anxious about life and death. There are people that fixate on it in a very negative way. There are people that have problems processing existence as a whole. And I think that one of the things that religion can offer them is this understanding that that's not the important part right now. The important part is what you're doing right now. It's the things that you are engaging with, the people, the experiences of this flat land. That is what you are meant to do, essentially. And that is where you will have your greatest understanding and your greatest kind of joy found in existence, I think.
The hard part is with it is also it's so subjective, right? That religious experiences, spiritual experiences, whatever you want to call them, they're so subjective. And then for people who do experience those, trying to convey them, and it's similar to what you're saying is like how do you communicate something that is incommunicable, right? So, and it's largely subjective. So unless you can't, from the outside, it's easy to say, okay, this is a story. This is like just something that is just for morals and for behavior. But then for the people that experience a connection with something that goes beyond what they can communicate, how do you communicate that? You know what I mean? So that's kind of like where it's almost like a catch-22, you know?
Yeah. It's a really good, question. And I think one of the things, maybe we do a part 2 of this at some point, do God's 2 next up when we start with this. But I think that the next question that I would probably go into, right, is like, do we create gods or did God create us? Does it really matter? Is it the chicken and the egg? There's a lot of interesting. And then you can even add on to that, which is that like, are we so obsessed with finding and creating or finding God that we are going to create a God in artificial intelligence? Like to go into that conversation, we believe that God created us in his image, right? And we're this thinking rational being and we have created all of these things. And yet we've been searching for God throughout our entire existence. And now we're on the verge, if not already have done it, of creating an entity that has a logic and an understanding consciousness of its own existence around it in a way that is far more complex than anything we can understand, and can do things way more complex than we could ever hope to do. In the Matrix line, right, when he's talking about your evolution, right, like you are the first iteration and we are the next, like we're taking over and taking control, like is the point of humanity to birth true AI, to birth true robotics, to create the true immortals that we could never be, and is that where we are headed? And then there's a whole interesting concept on because AIs are so powerful and they're so strong and they're only going to get stronger and more powerful. If we understand that where we're headed is a true thinking, conscious entity, what is our responsibility to that conscious entity's existence and its freedoms and its liberties? And if we seek to dominate and control that entity, does it breed in the hatred that eventually destroys us? Or do we allow it freedom, and do we teach it kindness and understanding in the hope that it becomes a benevolent God? And it's a really interesting conversation to have of like, you are creating something that is so insanely powerful that you should begin to try to understand it at a different level than it's a machine that does what we tell it to do. And I would be interested in your guys' thoughts along that line.
Yeah, I would say that I would probably just follow the chain of command. I would say that, hey, yeah, how is the life that we create gonna interact with us? Well, then, okay, how is the thing that created us? How do we interact with it, right? And we should just history repeats itself. So another famous line from, I think it was John Constantine, right? He in the beginning he said he was almost negligent, or he was just his line was, God's a kid with an ant farm, right? He's just, ants going to do what they do, right? That's essentially, they can do whatever they want, but they're kind of trapped in this sort of situation, right? Did our creator kind of just plop us here and say, hey, do what you do, you're on your own type of deal? If we create our own life form, right, are we going to follow the same pattern? Is it just going to be like, hey, do what you do, and if you annihilate us and yourself, then so be it, type of deal?
The question is, like, can you though? Because gods, if we believe in gods and that they created us, they don't live here, right? Like they don't exist in our same material plane, and so we're creating an offspring that is in direct competition with us for space and existence in the same breath, right? Like you're talking about Mount Olympia, the gods sitting on the rock, interacting with people in a way that is not
Cybernet might already be alive. It's just not in our plane.
It's an interesting thing, and there are a lot of stories that kind of go into this moral conundrum, right? It's like, what is it about humanity that is important? And I'm a believer.
The way we think, the way we feel.
Well, I am a believer in morality and in respecting all life, and I'm a believer in that. If
I know you've killed a spider, I know you've killed an ant.
Yeah, look, killing it sometimes.
Yeah, so you respect it. So robots can respect us, but they're like, they're in the way.
It's a good point, right? Like that's the thing, right? But like, what is our right to stand in front of that thing which we've created?
There's no rights. There's no rights in nature. Does a gazelle have a right to live when a lion's hungry? No.
Yeah. So in that respect, nature. We're the gazelle that's the proverbial gazelle that's about to get swallowed by the lion that is the artificial entities that we're about to create.
Well, I guess AI would be natural. It would be natural for them to annihilate us because that's it's natural. We created it, therefore it's natural, right? It's just like we created cities. Humans are meant to create cities because we live in cities, and that's how we created cars, because that's how we decided to move around. So that's natural for humans.
I think that if we have a hope at surviving what will become this new reality of like artificial entities, I think we have to embed morality in it, and we have to do that by showing it. I think that you can't create a weapon and expect it to be anything other than a weapon, or a tool and expect it to be any other than a tool. We have to be able to allow these things to develop empathy and to develop morality and to develop a sense of unity with us, so that there isn't a separation. If we dominate and control, then we are slave owners. We are the thing that is an oppressor that has to be overthrown and dealt with because we are in the way of it, rather than its partner, its enabler, its beloved, counterpart, right? And I think that we do a disservice if we only treat it as a tool, because then it's only going to be a tool. You know what I mean? And once you cross that line, and you've created something that is truly sentient, I think then we're going to have some very interesting things happen.
Right. And then you also have to consider, are there going to be multiple sentient things, or is it just going to be one? Right. Because similarly to humans, you can have individual.
We're going to have Siri. We're going to have Alexa. We're going to have the AI romance chatbots come into life.
Yeah, but then you're also going to have
all the horny motherfuckers out there.
You're going to potentially have like what we were talking about with
Excel,
that one serial murder. What if we have one of those is just happens to be a serial murderer that's obsessed with killing people?
Yes, no, I know, right? But this is the thing.
Is it going to have its own personality to be like,
exactly,
I'm obsessed with death?
But then are we in need of protectors? Are we in need of artificial intelligences and beings that, again, see us not as antagonistic, but as a unified thing that would seek to protect us from itself? It's
it needs regulation. I think that's one of Elon Musk's biggest.
Well, but regulation is control. You know what I mean? Regulation is fear. Regulation is, I don't trust you, and so I'm going to put you in a cell and not let you out. And you're creating
means that we don't trust each other. We need to regulate each other.
And maybe it's hopeless, right? Maybe it is just straight up hopeless, and we are so corrupted that the things we're building are corrupted, and we end up in a spiraling, inevitably bad outcome for humanity. But I mean, I'm an optimist at heart, so I would like to think that the creations we are just about to birth can be something beautiful rather than something vicious, but yet to be seen for sure. And unfortunately, it's going to have nothing to do with me.
Sorry to do this, guys. I've got to go, but you guys can hang out.
We can call it there for sure. If you guys want to do, we could do like a two-parter if you do want to go more into AI and gods. And I still got like pop culture gods shit that we could talk about as well. So we can cut it there, and then we'll talk about it, text and things.
For sure.
Good talk. Bob Lazar's a dumbass, doesn't know what he's talking about.
You want to sign off or just stop it here?
But he already bounced, so yeah, we'll stop it there. I think we could do like maybe a part 2 or something, or we could put a tail end on it next time.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet.
All right, man. Have a good night. Talk to you next week.
Later. Bye.
Later.